Today is Monday, March 9th, 2026, and this is Read Through the Bible.
This is our special recap edition of the book of 2 Chronicles.
Yeah, we finished that book this morning, and so now it's been our habit. We just try to take 15 minutes and just kind of talk about the entire book.
Right, so we're going to take a drone up and look at the big picture from that viewpoint.
We're going to try to summarize the summaries so that we can get through the entire book just in one session here. I think the best place to start is the picture that I've linked throughout the book of 2 Chronicles in the show notes. Is this picture by Steve Thomason, who calls himself the art pastor. And he puts this great picture here, if you pull it up, about David in 1 Chronicles, just showing that he is the mastermind of the temple. He wants to build the temple, but Solomon's actually the builder of the temple. And this chronicler is looking, like time-wise, after the exile through these binoculars, as he's kind of looking way back into history. And the left eye of his binocular is kind of looking at the throne, and his right eye of the binocular, through these rose-colored glasses, is the temple. And so as he speaks about 2 Chronicles, he's trying to pull out just the throne, the kings, and then particularly what they're doing about the temple. Solomon builds the temple, and then the others either take down the temple, destroy the things in the temple, bring back things, reinstitute temple worship, and those sorts of things.
Right. So this is because these people who he's writing to are the exiles who had been in Babylon, which then became Persia, for 70 years. And now they get to go back to their country, back to Jerusalem, but they don't know a whole lot about their history and about God's priorities and about his law. And so this book is written to teach them about that, teach them about their history, teach them particularly about Judah, and give them just a new vision for the centrality of worship and the temple and the king and the throne, who's going to be the Messiah.
Yep. Okay, so the book is broken down really in two. The first 9 chapters deals with King Solomon, just one king, and then 10 through 36 deal with all the other kings of Judah. And I'll put a link there to our song that we made, which is a song of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. And if you know the song of the kings of Judah, like 2 Chronicles just really opens up as it speaks of the kings of Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, Ahaziah, Athaliah, Joash, Amaziah. Like if you know these, then they are very helpful if you know that song. I'll put that in the description as well.
Right. So it tends to be here that the good kings get more chapters.
Yep.
Like Asa, Jehoshaphat, Hezekiah, Josiah, they get more space in this book.
Okay, so the first 9 chapters deal with Solomon, and chapter 1, we see Solomon beginning to reign, but particularly, what does he do here?
He prays for wisdom, and he gets wealth.
Yep. Solomon prays for wisdom, gets wealth. Like that's
what he's known for.
Yeah, in these brief micro summaries, just we tried, 6, 7, 8 words, just to summarize things down just as much as possible. But that's what Solomon does instantly. He knows his need of wisdom. He prays for wisdom, and God says, since you didn't ask for wealth, I'm going to give you wealth also. Okay, and then chapter 2.
Okay, this is going to be about building the temple.
Yeah, and he's going to build it. Like chapters 2 through 5 is going to be all about building the temple.
Right. So in 2, Solomon negotiates with Hiram for temple. So just supplies and workers.
Yeah, why does he negotiate with Hiram?
Well, especially because of trees, these wonderful cedar trees of Lebanon.
Yeah.
And
That's where Tyre is, like up in the north, right, where the trees are. So he says, hey, give me some trees, I'll give you some food. Okay, chapter 3.
Solomon builds the structure.
Yeah, and that's really the pillars of the temple, the outside structure. And once the frame is set up, then he puts the inside things. That's what comes in chapter 4.
Okay, chapter 4, Solomon builds the altar. Hiram makes vessels.
Yep, so he furnishes us the temple. Okay, chapter 5.
This is about the ark. Okay. The ark is brought into the temple glory.
Yeah, this is like the high point of the people of Israel. When the temple is made, the ark comes in, and the cloud of glory comes over the temple, and people are rejoicing. They're singing just about the steadfast love of the Lord endures forever, how great God is.
Like it's a big celebration.
Yep.
And amazing that God's glory comes in a cloud of presence.
Yeah, in chapter 6 really comes the dedication.
Yep, and this is Solomon's prayer. So Solomon prays, listen and forgive.
Yep, those 2 words, listen and forgive.
And he's praying for future people, that God will listen to them and forgive them.
Yeah, when they turn and they seek the Lord, God listen and forgive them. Okay, in chapter 7, we have God's answer to Solomon's prayer.
Fire from heaven, and God says, I will hear.
Yeah, so the fire from heaven comes and consumes the sacrifices. God says, yes, I will hear. What an answer to prayer. God, when they turn from their sin and they pray to you, listen, forgive them. And God says, I'll listen to them, and I will forgive them. Okay, and then chapter 8 kind of summarizes up Solomon's work.
Solomon's accomplishments.
That's a quick summary right there, just everything that he did. And then chapter 9
is the Queen of Sheba.
Yeah, and so we just put the Queen of Sheba there. Like if you remember, though, the Queen of Sheba heard about Solomon, doubted, but came and saw all of Solomon's accomplishments and was blown away by the wisdom and wealth of Solomon. Okay, so there's the first part of 2 Chronicles is
it's all about Solomon.
And also that the chronicler didn't talk about all of Solomon's wives to turn him away, because he's talking about the good of the good.
Right.
And to give the vision for how it can be when you follow the Lord. Okay, right. And then beginning 10 and following, we just have these kings. At 10, 11, and 12, we have Rehoboam. And in chapter 10...
Okay, so Rehoboam splits the kingdom.
Yep. And that's a story, remember, with Jeroboam, and the young men come to him. The old men say, hey, just lighten the load, and you'll be your king. And the young men come and say, no, make the load hard. And he followed the young men and split the kingdom.
Right. Okay. And so most of the people went north and went with Jeroboam, and they formed their own kingdom called Israel in the north, and then Rehoboam reigned over Judah in the south.
Yep, chapter 11.
Rehoboam doesn't fight Jeroboam.
Yeah, so he was all set to fight. It was a civil war. He's set to fight.
Well, he wanted to bring the country back together.
Yeah, and then God said, no, don't fight him, because this is a turn of the Lord. This is what I have deemed. Israel was so wicked. They're going to split. We're going to go north, and they're going to be bad. But not all is good for Judah in the south either, because chapter 12...
Shishak of Egypt plunders Jerusalem.
Yeah, what does he plunder?
Takes all the treasures out of the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of that chapter, it says that it happened because Rehoboam abandoned the Lord.
Yeah, so Rehoboam, even though he gets 3 chapters, was not good. He split the kingdom, he abandoned the Lord.
Right. I think he's just significant because he started the split.
Yes, and Shishak comes and takes all these things. Okay, chapter 13.
Abijah taunts Jeroboam. God delivers. So Abijah was king of Judah. He was Rehoboam's son. And he is taunting Jeroboam, the king of Israel. Yeah. And God delivered Abijah.
Yeah. And basically he says, he's arguing David. He says that God gave the kingship over Israel forever to David. We're south, we're David.
God, you promised.
Can't defeat, you can't beat us, Jeroboam. And Jeroboam went ahead and tried, and God delivered Judah, and Abijah didn't even have to fight. He was just done. Okay, and then chapter 14, 15, 16 is Asa, who started good and ended bad. Okay, he started good in chapter 14.
So Asa fortified the cities, so he's just making the country strong again.
Yeah, it's strong physically. And then chapter 15.
Asa leads Judah to seek the Lord.
Yep, that's strong spiritually. And then chapter 16.
Asa foolishly seeks help from Ben-Hadad.
Yeah,
so Israel in the north was a bit of a threat, and instead of turning to the Lord, Asa foolishly turned to this other king, Ben-Hadad.
Yeah. He should have learned from the other kings, like Abijah, who God delivered him just by fighting for himself. So he turned to Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, to distract Baasha, who was fighting against him, and then he was not good. Hanani the prophet confronted him. Okay, and then the next 4 chapters, 17 through 20, have to deal with Jehoshaphat.
So he was the son of Asa.
Yeah, so in your outlines, I'd encourage you to circle each chapter and who the king of Judah is about, or brackets.
That's what I do.
I do both of those in my summary book here, but it says in chapter 17.
Chapter 17 is Jehoshaphat sends teachers to Judah.
Yeah. So hey, they drifted, and so he just sent all these people out to teach Judah in the ways of God. Okay.
Chapter 18, this is still about Jehoshaphat, but Micaiah contradicts Ahab, who dies.
Yeah, and so you remember Jehoshaphat formed this alliance with Ahab, the king of Israel.
Bad idea.
Yeah, married to Jezebel, really bad. And then Jehoshaphat says, hey, is there someone who we can seek for counsel? And then Micaiah comes, and he's the prophet. Ahab says, oh, he always prophesies bad. And he says, no, it was not true. He says, well, it's true. And Ahab then died in battle. Okay, chapter 19.
Jehoshaphat appoints God-fearing judges.
Yeah, very similar to chapter 17 when he sent the teachers throughout his he establishes righteous judges in the land.
So teachers and leaders or judges are
chapter
righteous.
20.
Moab and Ammon attack Jehoshaphat, and he prays.
Yeah, and so even he prays and he defeats Moab and Ammon. They had a turning of the Lord. They fought against each other at Mount Seir. That's what that was. Okay, and then in chapter 21, we have this really bad king who married Athaliah.
Right, so Jehoram, he's the next king. He kills his brothers. His bowels come out.
And he died a horrible death, and he died to no one's regret. Yeah.
So he was son of Jehoshaphat, but he was very wicked.
Yes, and okay, in chapter 22.
So Ahaziah is killed.
Yep.
And so Ahaziah was son of Jehoram. He's the next king. Next king.
And then Jehoram's wife, Athaliah, then becomes queen.
Right, or Ahaziah's mother.
Yep. So the summary there, Ahaziah is killed, and then Athaliah becomes queen. And she becomes queen by destroying all of her children or grandchildren, just wipes out the line.
There's been a lot of that happening here.
But she was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, so it makes sense. She was such a wicked queen. Okay, and then in chapter 23.
Okay, so Jehoiada, he's a priest. Jehoiada ordains Joash and kills Athaliah. So Jehoiada is a righteous priest, and he and his wife saved baby Joash. And then they revealed him when he was 7 years old and said, here's the rightful heir. Get rid of Athaliah.
Then was done. Okay, and then under Jehoiada, Joash does really well in chapter 24.
Okay, Jehoiada reforms
Israel, reforms the worship.
Right.
Again, the focus on the temple, reforms the worship.
And dies.
And he dies.
Then Joash drifts.
Away from the influence of his father figure. It's really bad.
Very sad.
Okay, so that was chapters 23 and 24 were all about Joash. It started in chapter 22. Okay, chapter 25 is all about Amaziah.
Okay, that's the next king. Amaziah defeats Edom and worships their gods.
Really kind of crazy.
Very bad.
You defeat them and you adopt their gods. Their gods are weak. Yeah, but that's Amaziah. We'll see that in chapter 28 as well. But chapter 26...
that's about the next king, Uzziah. He reigns, offers incense, and becomes a leper because he offered incense in the temple.
Yeah, he played the priest.
Right.
Because he became proud. He thought, I can do anything I want. He plays the priest, and it's no good, and he becomes a leper the rest of his life. But Uzziah reigned for like 52 years.
Yes.
He was
he was the second longest.
To Manasseh. Okay, in chapter 27.
Okay, Jotham, that's the next king, which, by the way, these kings have all been in the line of David.
Yeah, they're all sons of sons of sons
other
of sons
than
of sons.
Athaliah, she was not, but everybody else was all from the line of David. So it continues here, 27. Jotham ordered his ways before the Lord.
Yeah. That's just picked up from verse 6 in that chapter, just what he did. He was
a good king.
Did right. Okay, chapter 28.
Okay, 28 is about the next king, Ahaz. He's very bad. Ahaz defeated, then sacrificed to Damascus's god.
Yep, a little bit like in chapter 25 when Amaziah actually defeats Edom and then worships their gods. Here in 28, Ahaz is defeated by Syria and then worships the god of Syria, which is in its capital in Damascus.
Right.
Okay. And then we have probably one of the best kings after David, 29, 30, 31, and 32. 4 chapters talking about Hezekiah.
Yeah, one of the very greatest kings. 29.
And the chronicler focusing upon the worship, chapter 29.
So Hezekiah cleanses the temple.
Yep, just cleans it all up, institutes real worship again. Okay, chapter 30.
Hezekiah commands the Passover.
Yep. It's used, proclamation says we're going to keep the Passover, and it was a mighty Passover they kept. Chapter 31.
Hezekiah restores Levites as priests.
Yeah, so the first 3 chapters, Hezekiah focusing all upon temple and worship and just how it was restored. And then in chapter 32, we just see his trust in the Lord. What happens in 32?
Sennacherib invades, and Hezekiah prays.
Yep, so Sennacherib is the king of Assyria. He's coming in, invading and taunting, and Hezekiah basically says, let's trust the Lord, and he prays, and Sennacherib's army is crushed.
Well, and that's a big deal because the Assyrian army had already conquered the northern kingdom of Israel, and very recently, right before this. And so they were a big threat, and by human measures, they should have won. But Hezekiah prayed, and God protected them.
Yep. Okay, chapter 33.
Next king, Manasseh. He's terrible. He's the worst.
He's the worst of the worst.
Yeah. Manasseh's evil and repentance.
Very surprising. He's the most evil of the kings, and he
repents. Yeah, and he reigned the longest as well, right?
Yep, 55 years.
And then Ammon, his son, is the next king.
Yeah, a great story of repentance that just lists all the evil that Manasseh did. It's super bad, even sacrificing his sons and even setting up altars inside the tabernacle. And then when he repents, he comes back and he swaps it all out and reinstates the worship of Jehovah. Okay, chapter 34 and 35 are about Josiah.
Yes, and he's a very good king.
Yep.
Josiah finds the book of the law.
Yep. And then that's when, actually, he didn't find it, but he sent someone to restore the temple.
Hilkiah the priest, who's Jeremiah's father.
Yep, and then he reforms. He says, he has the law read, and he says, we need to do this. And then one of the things he does in chapter 35, in accordance with the law of Moses,
Josiah commands the Passover.
Just like Hezekiah had done in chapter 30, but Josiah's was bigger. Okay, and then chapter 36, I think the best thing to do is just to list the 4 kings there.
Right, it's the last kings of Judah. So
Okay.
Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah.
Yeah, and then there's a little proclamation, a note about Cyrus and how Cyrus had decreed to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. A government paid excavation. Anyone who wants to go, return, build your altar,
But
worship your God again.
It jumps ahead in time, 70 years.
Yeah, 70 years.
So.
There's the back. But it shows us when Second
Right.
Chronicles was written. Again, getting back to this picture of Steve Thomason about the chronicler writing after the exile, looking back on all these kings that we've gone through, focusing on the good of the good and the bad of the bad, and trying to encourage people, give people a picture of what the throne can be like and what the temple could be like and what worship of the Lord would be like and how it would be better if you worship the Lord.
Well, and I think it's interesting that the Hebrew Bible has First and Second Chronicles at the end of the Old Testament,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, which makes sense
Yeah.
because that's really when it was written.
Yeah. Okay. We will see you tomorrow in the book of Ezra.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.